All right, welcome everybody to today's Anti-cast with Dr. Gerald Auger. You're just going to get started with Practical CIS Controls 18 Auditing. Thank you for joining us, Jerry. And I'm going to let you go ahead and get started, and I'll come back when there's about 5 or so minutes left, and we'll do some Q&A, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Zach. And thank you to all of Antisyphon for this really cool, wicked fun opportunity to come talk about some GRC stuff, have some laughs, and hopefully have y'all leave with some new knowledge and some education. So it's Practical CIS Controls 18 from prep to reporting. What we're going to do is basically when you leave this, right, you'll learn a little bit about CIS Controls 18. This talk is not designed to go deep dive into CIS 18. It is designed to introduce you and show you what CIS 18 is, and I'll explain why I've selected it, and then show you how to prepare a security audit around CIS 18, and then execute that audit, and then effectively create the actionable reports, which is the entire life cycle of an audit. Now, this can be an internal audit. This could be you selling services. It could be, consulting, like whatever. It could be you just trying to get some experience. And CIS Controls 18 for someone who's either a small business or not wicked well versed in like how control frameworks all work. It's to me, it's the most kind of accessible and easy to onboard. So that's basically what we're going to get going here today. So obviously this will be on record, but I would take good notes. I don't know about you, but like I always record like every Zoom call I have. Oh, like better record this conversation. And then like what I don't think I've ever gone back and reviewed them. So take the good notes now because you're lying to yourself if you think you're going to go back and like rewatch this whole thing. Okay. So why CIS 18 as a control framework? So let me take a step back, okay, and just show you what it is, right? Hold on. These are the 18 controls of CIS 18. And they're basically 18 control areas and how you would approach it. And within each of them are, N number of safeguards, which are basically like sub controls. It's the components that make up implementing the control. All right. And they organize it in like level of priority and importance too. So like one has more impact, more value, more, risk reduction than two. I mean, they're basically the same, but like as you go further down to 18, it's still important, but you get, I guess it's where you can mature to. Plus they have implementation guidelines that I'll talk to about in a minute. Small businesses are perfect for this. Listen, let's be real. Okay. I've worked in the federal government, National Science Foundation, manufacturing, private sector. I've worked in like all sorts of different businesses and stuff. You're not going to roll out CIS 18 at Cisco. You're not going to roll CIS 18 out at a, multi-facility like healthcare system. It's not designed for that. It's too it's not that it's immature. It's just it's not comprehensive enough, and it's not nuanced enough, and it's not flexible enough. You would go to something like NIST CSF, which is epic, right? I mean, for real. So CIS 18 though is perfect for small businesses. And the whole reason I'm making this point is because I want you to appreciate why, and I want you to be able to take that information and go. Because if you work at a small business, maybe you're doing IT at a small business, right? Or you're working in, I don't know, finance or something at a small business, and you're looking to like break into cyber. CIS 18 might be what you could use to say, hey, listen, like I know I'm doing finance here, but like, aren't we all wearing multiple hats for real? Let me just kind of take a look at our security posture, and I'll use this framework so you don't look like some jackwag and just give me your passwords and I'll see what things I can log into. Like, no, you'll actually have like a framework that you can, assess against and then, basically find your gaps and then mature into. So it's perfect, right? Small businesses are perfect for this for numerous reasons, including resources that they don't have, kind of slack around governance, right? It's all about just making money and stuff like that. So that's what it is. Another thing with CIS 18 that I'll show you in a slide or two is that you can basically go for the high impact, the high value, low cost risk reduction type controls and target those first. You cannot treat all controls as being equal. Like having like I forget what they call it in FISMA, but like a tempest chamber, like a Faraday cage, so you can operate without having like electromagnetic waves come out and be intercepted by an adversary versus multi-factor authentication. Like those two controls are wildly different in the threat landscape and how much risk they reduce, right? So they're not all the same. CIS 18 allows you to get those like high value ones right away. And as I said, it's reasonably scalable, which I'll show you about in a minute. So let's do a quick poll, really quick. I took a screenshot here. Which of the following best describes the primary purpose of CIS Controls 18? All right, this is half, a little bit of what I said and half what your thoughts are. Is it a framework for pen testing? Is it a comprehensive set of cyber best practices to defend against common attacks? Is it a compliance standard? Or is it a tool for EDR? Lock in your answers now. Ryan, what do we typically do here? 60 seconds, 30 seconds?
Yeah, well, we can do it anytime we want. If you want to do 60, we'll do 60.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, we're going to get a phone a friend, wagon full of jacks and a rubber ball. That's right. All right. So the overwhelming, oh, wow. That's a long link. That's a scary link.
That was if you're not in Zoom, you can go to that link supposedly, and well, I don't know if that worked right, but supposedly I'm supposed to be able to share a link that you guys can submit to the poll if you're not in Zoom, if you're watching on YouTube, but maybe I did it wrong.
Phishing.
I'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah. So 92% of you have locked in on a comprehensive set of cyber best practices to defend against common attacks. That is exactly what CIS Controls 18 is. And you might even want to cherry pick, copy paste that sentence if you are going to introduce this to your business and try to convey to them the value and like what it is in one sentence. This is it. I also want to call your attention to common attacks, right? Common attacks. We're not trying to solve for some like bizarre academic thing where they're in the building next door using a laser beam to look at the heat signature on your keyboard. We're looking at like phishing and malicious USBs and malware, right? Macros and stuff like that. Okay. It says, do I hit stop sharing on this poll or just let it roll?
I can hit stop. Or
okay,
you can hit stop.
I don't know what you see and what I see. Okay, so good work, everybody. Let's keep on going. So let's talk a little bit about CIS 18. You may have heard it called CIS 20. A million years ago, when I looked young, the SANS ran this thing, and it was the SANS 20 controls, and it was fine or whatever. But you guys are all well aware, over time, technology changes, the cloud, identity is the new perimeter, all these things, and controls need to evolve as well, right? You can't just be like, this is the way we did it in 1985, and like, I'm not going to change my ways. So it evolved into the CIS 18. It also, SANS basically gave it to CIS to kind of manage. CIS, you may know, they actually release like benchmarks for different technologies on how to securely configure it. Bonus tip that you won't get anywhere else: don't ever apply the whole configuration. You might think that's the right idea. It's absolutely not. You will get so much blowback from IT if you try to do that. So they consolidated from 20 to 18. One of the really interesting things that you should know is that they added things like service provider management, right? They added a control around that provides guidance on managing cloud services, right? Cloud came out after the SANS 20. That's definitely something we got to worry about. These hybrid environments, as well as mobile, right? People are on the move all the time. We've got to be worried about those. So they basically made it more focused on the task itself instead of the person executing the task, which was kind of another nice piece of it. And I'm not 100% sure if implementation groups existed in CIS 20. It's been a minute, but implementation groups, and I'll show you here in a second. Take a look at this. This is the 18, right? If you look at Control 1, inventory, basically asset inventory of hardware, right? You could see there's 5 safeguards, so there's 5 sub-controls within Control 1. And then you have these IG1, IG2, IG3. Now you'll notice, basically 1 is the lowest bar, and it matures up to 3. So if you're implementation guidance level 3, you're implementing all 5 of the 5 possible safeguards. And if you do IG1, you only have to do 2. Again, if you have nothing, right? Excuse me. If you're Whitney Houston and you have nothing, right? She probably sings it better, right? If you have nothing, go CIS 18 IG1, do an assessment. Like start somewhere, right? A lot of people get all geeked up and they're like, oh, I'm going IG3 up in this piece. I'm going high baseline. It's like, dude, pump the brakes. Like, why don't you get some like quick wins? Don't try to overwhelm the business. Don't try to overwhelm yourself. There'll be plenty of time for GRC, right? You can always rinse and repeat up in this piece. So just to grab another one and one specific one to show you, look at this. Oh my gosh. Come on, man. I'm trying to do something here. I'm doing a demo. So Control 16 AppSec, 14 safeguards, 0 at the IG level 1. So it's not necessarily something for everything. Even like this particular one has none. And then if you look at awareness training, oh my God, GRC Mafia, where you at? 9 safeguards, 8 of 9. So it's not like they're just taking a third. They're taking the ones that they truly believe offer the highest risk reduction for the most, like, I guess, return on your own investment that would give you the greatest risk reduction. And I'll show you in just a second. Okay. GRC getting love. So these are the 18 controls. All right. Look at these. This basically is a screen cap from the CIS Security Controls documentation, but the top 5 attacks, right? We recognize these common creatures: malware, ransomware, insider privilege, and misuse. I'm not really, I don't know about that one. I think I want to believe that is like compromised credentials, like valid credentials, initial access broker type stuff. And then targeted intrusions. You could see with IG1, just IG1, you get this green column of like how much it's controlling, right? So with malware, the IG1 level controls, if you implement just those, you get like a 77% like coverage of risk, not risk reduction, but like, yeah, risk reduction, I guess, basically. So again, you shouldn't think of these things as linear, like, oh, if I do, a third of the controls, I'll get a third of the risk reduction. It's not 1-to-1 in that capacity, okay? And you can see if you go all the way on all CIS safeguards, right? On the insider privilege and misuse, you only get 4% more, right? Again, with GRC, guys, it's a lot of money to buy technology. It's a lot of money.
Jerry, I think I lost your screen share.
Okay.
You can redo that for me. Sorry.
Yeah, I've reached the maximum allowed screen shares.
Huh. Okay.
Let me close this poll out. Yeah. Let me try it again. Nope. Ask someone to stop sharing.
Now do it.
Oh, yeah. We're back, baby. All right. One night only. Encore presentation. Let's go. So I just want to point out, like, it's because it's not linear. I want you to realize this. This is like another like pro tip from like just having like a million scars from doing GRC. It takes a lot of effort to get like all the controls, right? So there's political capital of trying to convince the business to change the way they do things. There's budget, right? Oh, why would we buy something that we already own something that does that? There's getting buy-in from like IT applications, business owners, right? So we on this side of the fence love ourselves some like controls and cyber and doing all the things, but you've got to be really, really mindful of the business, because they're ultimately, you can bring everything to the table, and if they're not interested in eating it, that your food's going to spoil. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Let's do a quick poll here. Question 2. You're preparing for a CIS Controls 18 audit of a small business. Which of the following should you complete first? Final report template, get that dialed in so you can work backwards. Determine the scope and boundaries. Get those security monitoring tools installed so they can start collecting telemetry. Get you ready for when you're ready to pull the trigger. Gather the staff around, interview them, let them know. well, I'm being playful. Like, if they're not following the process, they're fired. That's not the case. I'll give you that one. It's not the last one. All right, people coming in hot. Nice. All right, I love it. Polls are closing. That's right. This is great. You guys are killing it. All right, let's go ahead and end the poll. Correct. Determine the scope and boundaries of the audit. What are we doing here? And you'll see why it's important to determine that. But without scope, without boundaries, you're like kind of a boat without an anchor. Like you're just kind of floating around. You're going to look like a chump. Like you need scope and boundaries so you can put your arms around it and say, this is what we're doing here. Okay. So let's talk about preparing for the audit. Again, audits have 3 phases: prep, execution, and post. And that might sound obvious, but there is a ton of work that needs to happen in the prep. You don't just get the job and show up and be like, here, we're here to do it. You don't just pull up CIS 18 and walk into the HR person's office and you're like, let's go through all these. You will absolutely look like a clown show, and you run the risk of losing the business, like just completely eroding all your political capital of them being bought in on it. So super important that we do this. All right, so very first thing is defining scope and boundary, right? What are we looking at, guys? We've got systems and networks, right? Physical locations, right? Don't think it's just all about tech, like whatever's got an Ethernet port in it. Physical locations matter, right? Data centers matter. We're going to be looking at, physical things too. Like, is there a fire suppression system in the data center? I once did an audit I was helping a business out, and they bought a really expensive electric fire extinguisher. Like it's designed to like put out electrical fires, and they mounted it behind the server rack. And I was like, so what's the plan here? This thing catches fire and then you walk through the fire to get to the fire extinguisher. And they're like, yeah, that was the plan, but we'll go ahead and fix that. So you want to look at business processes as well. I want you to know, for real, guys, just like we have the CIA triad, and that's amazing. Woo, day one Sec Plus. Everybody knows the CIA triad. But when you're looking at controls and putting controls in place at an organization, it's really simple. You have people controls, you got technical controls, and you got process controls, right? These are the 3 areas that could have breakdowns and weaknesses. 0 days in tech, Carl, right? No, that's terrible. Hold on. Falling for a fish, or exploiting a workflow or a process, and everything goes right through the way it's supposed to, but you're able to circumvent it. Chris Rock, not the slap Chris Rock, but Chris Rock, the Australian cybersecurity researcher, did an amazing talk at DEF CON 16 or 18, I think, called I Will Kill You. If you want to go look at how, like a case study in how to attack a process, that's the case study right there. Chris Rock, and the name of the talk is I Will Kill You, DEF CON. All right. And then obviously you need what CIS controls you're going to do. Are we going IG1? Are we going IG2? Are we just going to cherry pick some controls because we're like concerned about it? I would recommend IG1. Remember, the premise of what I'm trying to teach you right now is that you can take this knowledge, take CIS 18, IG1, and go execute an audit with it, okay? After you figure out your scope, what's involved, you can start collecting information. You can actually, like, obviously, you're not going to just show up and no one knows you're coming. Like, you will be liaison with the business, or if it's internal, like whoever is requesting this, like, if it's the, I don't know, CISO or whatever, they're going to make it aware that this is happening, right? So you can request network diagrams. This is all pre-work, and I'm going to explain to you. Yeah, that's the talk. Thank you. Network diagrams. Listen, I get that the network diagrams, and if you didn't know this, like, welcome to the party. Network diagrams are not going to be up to date. They're going to be out of date, like immediately out of date. You still want to request them because some large pieces you're not aren't going to change. Like VLANs aren't really going to change that much. Where their perimeter firewalls are, maybe some of their tech facilities, right? You're not going to get some up-to-date data flow, but you'll see some of the tech in place, like maybe Windows Server X, or Cisco gear, routing gear, whatever. So asking for network diagrams is definitely good. Ask for policies and procedures. Now, small businesses typically will not have policy. They might have one policy. Don't get wrapped around the axle if they don't have policy and procedures. That's an opportunity for improvement for them for sure. But a lot of small businesses, there's not enough. Most small businesses, there's like the leadership team, and then there's the worker bees, and like the leadership team's just in constant contact with everybody. So like the vibe of what is acceptable and what's normal there is already done. There, like, and no one's gonna really stick to the policies. So you won't see them very often, but procedures for sure. How is something done here? Oh, excellent. Link for the controls. Thank you. You can ask for org charts and key stakeholders. This is very important as well. Don't sleep on this. You'll need to know who these key people are, because you're going to have to request their time. And you want to make sure, listen, nothing's worse than this has only happened a few times in my life, but you get into an interview with somebody to do an audit interview and they're the wrong person. You're like, oh, here's my first question. They're like, oh, geez, you want to talk to Brandon? Like, that's not me. I'm like, oh, Jesus. And you can't just be like, get up and go to Brandon's desk and be like, Brandon, you want to do an interview? Like, that you have to schedule it. You must make sure that you get the right people in the room. So that, those org charts help. And by the way, the org chart's super useful. If someone's not playing nice, someone's, kind of giving you the old, take a hike kind of thing, you can use the org chart to figure out who their boss is, and then kindly ask the depends on how snarky you want to be, but you could ask their boss to join the meeting and be like, yeah, I need to talk to someone about how user accounts are processed. And I haven't been getting much success with Carl. So I assumed that you're the person who I should be interviewing. At which point their boss is going to email them and say, this is not me, this is you, go to the meeting. And then, you can just be like, hi, all right. If there are any prior audit reports, that's super useful for the reasons I'll say at the end of this talk. But you'll see what's important, what problems they used to have. You can make sure that you look for those problems again when you're doing your audit. I guess I'll just give you a teaser for the end. Typically these findings, yes, it's an audit, and yes, it's also going to be all factually accurate. You're not going to lie. Okay. We're not lying here. We're not suppressing information for anyone. But when you're doing the executive summary and you're calling out specific problems, typically though you consult with whoever's requesting this audit or the lead or whatever. So you can make sure that the things that you're highlighting as important, because they're all important, but the ones you're highlighting align with what they want, because they typically have an agenda. They typically have a long-term strategy, and you're helping them get that. So you're getting the objective assessment of your current cyber state or security posture, but you're also helping them execute on their agenda, because it gives them ammo basically to be able to go to leadership and be like, dude, we just had an audit and we're not looking good. We could be better. That's prior audit reports. All right, well, who's going to be there too? You got to determine the team, right? Maybe you're just like, it's just me. Well, that makes determining the team super easy, right? But maybe, you're a little bit larger. Maybe part of the environment is got Kubernetes in it. I would not be the right person, right? Maybe the environment's all up in AWS, right? You're a small tech startup and you're building a solution up. I don't know who's doing that either. You're building a solution who is in AWS. You might need someone with some of that expertise. So you got to make sure you got the right people, right? All right, I put control collection document. I'm going to show you that in a second. That is super important. And then audit scripts, I'll talk about that in a second. Do I have a slideshow? Yeah. So control collection document, okay? Listen. When you go, well, let me actually do this in two different ways. Audit scripts, okay? So check it out. Look at these controls here. And again, these controls are pretty accessible. I'm going to bring it up on screen, so don't think I'm looking at something that you're not. Okay? Okay, hold on one second. Here we go. This is the official CIS 8.1 documentation, right? And This is control 1, right? And then you can see underneath it, it's going to do, remember IG1 is only 2 of the safeguards, 2 of the 5, okay? So this is just why it's important, etc. But in here, you can see it gives you some guidance on how you can also test it. But these are the safeguards. This is what you're looking for. You could see it calls it out right here, IG1, IG2, IG3, IG1, right? So it's just these 2, safeguard 1.1 and 1.2. Okay? So you would not, and if you've taken my GRC Analyst Masterclass, you know I spent a long time flipping out about this. You would absolutely not want to go into an interview with an IT person, right? Kevin from IT, and be like, oh yeah, hi, I'm doing the audit. I want to know, do you establish and maintain an accurate, detailed, up-to-date inventory of all enterprise assets with the potential to store or process data to include end-user devices, including portable and mobile network devices, non-computing IoT devices, and servers? Also, do you ensure that inventory records and network address, if static? Like, if you read this to them, you can kiss your audit goodbye. This is the most Bush League. I didn't do any prep. I basically barely know what I'm doing here. Move you can do. What you need to do is you need to take this information and assimilate it into what I call an audit script. And this is work. Okay, I think this might be the first time in my life. Back in my day, we didn't have AI to help us with this task, but now we do. You can basically, scoop this all up, copy paste it into AI, and you only have to do it once, frankly. And you can say, hey, I'm going to be interviewing IT about this. I need to make sure that all these key things are here. And I show this a little bit later, but give me a logical set of questions, the fewest amount of questions that cover this control in its maximum capacity. Okay. And what do I mean by that? So for this particular one, right? I'm just going to wing it here. Establish and maintain detailed enterprise asset inventory. What you really should be saying here is, do you guys keep track of your hardware, your endpoints? How do you do that? Oh yeah, we have a spreadsheet. Oh, okay, that's cool. So when you guys buy a new piece of technology, a new guy gets hired and you go get him a laptop, how does it get put on the spreadsheet? Who does that, right? You're basically teasing out, what do they do there? You will get to this. You'll get all the answers you need for this, but you need to ask it in a reasonable human communication way, not this. Okay. And then they might be like, oh yeah, whoever requisitions the, that's nightmare fuel, dude. Whoever requisitions the thing is responsible for adding it. Okay, that's cool. What about servers? If a server fails or a hard drive fails, not a hard drive, but a networking device fails, same process. Yeah, same process. Okay, cool. Now, really quickly, now you're getting this information. You might even say, I'd have to look at it, but there's probably something in there about reviewing it, right? Do you guys ever review it to make sure it's accurate or anything? No, not really. We just add it and that's it. Well, what about when something leaves? Do you remove it from the list? We're supposed to, but we're not really good at it. Okay, that's good. So you get all the information, okay? And I'll show you an example on how to do that later. And by the way, rinse and repeat. My strategy that I have done in my career that works perfect for me, get a Google Docs or Word doc or whatever, put safeguard 1.1, put your 5 questions or whatever it's going to be right beneath it. And then when you sit in the interview, you say, hey, FedEx, tell me about what happens when new technology comes in, tablets, phones, laptops, servers, whatever. First question. And then FedEx, I type in FedEx dash, and then I capture what he is saying. I'm not trying to synthesize it or analyze it right now. I'm just documenting what he's saying, because you got to remember, you got to take care of this person's time. They are going to hate you if you're wasting their time. Go on to the next one or ask follow-up questions. Okay. Now, another thing that you should be doing well, I'm getting into audit execution right now. I'm sorry, but it just makes sense to tell you. Another thing you should be doing right now is immediately requesting that spreadsheet that they use, right? You could have gotten that during the initial data call. Remember we asked about network diagrams, policies, procedures. Well, we didn't know about this inventory list, so you have to request that as well. And you have to make sure you take note of that. This right here is your control selection. Again, say we're only doing IG1. You can see these are the entire scope of controls. I've already filtered this on IG1 for CIS 18. You can take this now, use it as your workbook, like you add more columns and use it as your workbook. You can use this and use it to identify who you need to speak to. You can use this to send it to IT in advance of the audit and say, hey, this is what we're going to be talking about. You listen, you're not there to like be the Bobs from Office Space. You're literally there just to check if what people think is happening. And if not, like why? Like should it get fixed or what? By giving you the full scope of the controls, you're clearly communicating with everyone involved what you're going to be doing. And there's no surprises when you show up. All right. Here is an example of my audit script. Okay. This is that first one that I just told you, IG1. You can see here, this is my Google Doc, right? Security control assessment interview support doc. That's what I call it. Date of audit, client, who the client is, and then boom, right there. Here's my safeguard. One, here are the questions I'm asking. Here are the people that are in the interview. Lisa Loeb. I guess the song Stay, the royalties didn't really pay off. She got bored and in her second career, she wanted to do some IT love, but she's there, right? You've got to keep really good records. I don't care if you have a great memory. That's fantastic. Good for you. Take great notes because you may forget something, or you need to share this with some other people on your team. And you're like, oh, I'll remember. Yeah, good luck with that. Take good notes. Also, if there's any discrepancies or pushback in your findings, well, I don't know what you're talking about, Tom Pine. On August 7th, we met. I asked you these questions and you told me this, and this. So why wouldn't I come to the conclusion that you're not doing it when technology leaves, right? Okay, you get the idea. And then rinse and repeat. My like NIST CSF audit script doc is like 68 pages or something like that, okay? Okay, let's keep going. Yep, here's the example of how you can use AI. If I need to validate the following security control in an organization, who would I need to interview and what questions should I ask? I'm trying to translate this control into common speak. Boom. This is a great AI query because it actually tells you who you should be inviting to the meeting. Go review your stakeholder org chart and pull those people and tell them. And then this basically is a shortcut key to your audit script. Obviously, like with everything else with AI, verify that it does in fact make sense to you, that it does in fact address the controls, and it is in your own natural language, right? You don't just push the buck down the road and then ask a question that makes no sense that AI generated, right? Okay. But definitely take advantage of this. Okay. Yeah, exactly. The waiter who claims, yeah, every order. And then you get like cheese and you're lactose intolerant. You're like, thanks, bro. Okay, so also very important, communication, as I've already said. You definitely want to send out a note to the basically the people that are involved in the upcoming audit. An audit should never be a surprise to anyone. People are, what are we doing here? People are already wigged out when they get audited. They feel uncomfortable. So you've got to make them feel comfortable, right? Awareness, communication, explanation on what you're doing sets people at ease, okay? When you actually go on site, so typically you'll do the prep work in advance and then you'll go on site. Now, if you're auditing where you work, obviously you're on site already, but the actual execution, you'll want to have a kickoff meeting, okay? There's two reasons here. You'll already have the calendar invites blocked, okay? Don't do anything longer than like an hour. Even if Ryan does like IT and mobile endpoint deployment and he's responsible for like watering the garden and somehow you're going to ask about that, like try to focus on like what the framework, like what the control is that you're trying to audit or the scope of what you're trying to audit. Don't try to do everything all at once. All right. It's just going to be overwhelming. You can have back-to-back meetings, right? But make sure those meetings, because here's the thing, if something comes up and you need to reschedule a meeting, it's easy to reschedule one hour meeting and then continue doing the other meetings you scheduled. And if you had like a 6-hour meeting, well, now, I'll be there for the first 30 minutes and then I got something to do or whatever. You can't really reschedule that. So like, it's just a pro tip. Don't do that. When you kick off the meeting, that's an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to everyone so they know what you're doing. Let them know that they've seen invites with you. It also gives leadership an opportunity to explain to everybody who's involved with this thing, hey, Jerry is doing this and I expect you to, work with him on this. This is important to us. That's what that kickoff meeting is also an opportunity for. Now, your update cadence does, I was a bit overboard. We, when I do audits, would debrief daily with the client, right? Give them, you don't want to just work, and then find out after 5 days whether or not you've been doing your job or not. So we would, basically a quick 30-minute either meeting or an email that's just at the end of the day, hey, we met with these people today. We talked about these controls today. We're X% through audit on site. And if there was anything like major discovered, you would put it there as well. Also, if you dealt with any problems, like Ryan refuses to meet with us, right? And then, of course, the findings review. I mentioned this earlier. When you do have your findings at the end, this is not really audit prep. This is like at the end. But when you have your findings at the end, you do want to have your initial draft findings, and you want to share that with your client or with leadership or whoever's going to be the one consuming it. And get with them before you finalize it. Because when you finalize it, do you remember earlier when I said someone comes in and wants, they'll request the last audit report? When you finalize that, that's the report that's going to go to the next person. And imagine there's a data security incident or something and lawyers get involved and they request the last one. You're just going to want to make sure that, it's focusing on the things you want your agenda to drive. And do not accept removing stuff that are known problems. That's disingenuous. All right, so what's pre-audit success look like? Here's an email. I'm going to just kind of jam through these. I provide a template of what I would put in my email to everybody. Clear communications. This isn't a, hey, everybody, did you see the Dilbert cartoon? LOL, I'll be talking to you. No, this is business. Here's what we're doing. Here's why I'm here. Expect to see me. Peace out. Here you can contact me if you need to. Okay? Get those meetings scheduled. Best practice, put in the meeting exactly what you're going to be talking about. And if you want, put the questions from your audit script in there. You know what people like? Being prepared. People don't like walking into a meeting that they have no clue what the heck's going to be going on here. So that's another like pro tip, right? And again, you could break it up by safeguards. I would break it up more by finding out what people match to what safeguards, because sometimes you might need for onboarding, you need IT and HR in that same meeting because they partner together usually on that process or firing somebody or when they retire, usually fire. All right, so here we go. Okay, now this guy, just give me your documentation, right? Another quick thing, the reason I asked you to request network diagrams, policies, procedures, all those things in the early part is because when you're taking these, the CIS 18 is intentionally vague. It's not made for manufacturing. It's not made for your business. It's vague to be applicable across businesses. So you can use those, that documentation and information to make your audit scripts even more effective and make sure that your auditing and your findings are more effective. So if they're a Windows shop, right? Maybe you're not asking about Linux or anything like that. If they're a Windows or if they're a Microsoft Azure shop, right? You can focus your questions around that, right? Like, hey, when you guys I guess for like email, hey, when someone's, how do you update email filters or, exchange online protection policy? Like you can get to the root of like what the real question is and what the controls should be, instead of just saying, what do you do for email? Or like when you configure, not configuration management, conditional access, right? Conditional access is huge in Azure, right? So you can ask those specific questions if you have insights into what their actual infrastructure is. So this is old school. Okay, this is pre-AI. This is babyface Jerry. Like looking at these questions, you can see safeguard 6.1, establish an access granting program. 6.2, establish an access revoking process. 6.3, oh my God, be still my heart. Require MFA. I'll accept externally exposed applications. We can start somewhere. I want you to know right away. Here's another pro tip. You do not need, there's 18 controls. You don't have to have 18 meetings. They're not one-to-one, right? Or there's whatever, the safeguards. There's like, whatever, 111 safeguards. These 3 safeguards can all be kind of answered and understood with just a few questions. So don't get wrapped around the axle on, having questions for each one. Like back in my day, like there'd be controls where like there would be no questions to ask because I would already know whether they were doing it or not based on, questions I had already asked previously. You know what I mean? All right. Oh, anyways, yeah, you can see here. Talk me through a new hire. Like this is a common one, right? Talk me through a new hire getting access when someone switches roles and then when someone, gets terminated, right? Like both fired and, they chose to leave. Like just walk me through that process. You'll get tons of controls out of that and you can dig into it, right? So like, let's just say they're like, oh yeah, so new hire comes in, we give them a laptop, they turn it on, they launch Outlook and they start, going through orientation. When you're like, wait a minute, how did they get email? Oh, yeah. We create them an account in M365. Okay, like who does that? Who creates the account? Oh, well, Kevin does. Okay, like why does Kevin create an account? Like who tells Kevin to create an account? Oh, well, Lisa in HR does. She processes the paperwork. Oh, okay. Like, so you can start teasing out like what actually is going on here. And then you can use your big brain to review the actual safeguards and see if they're being met. Also, spoiler alert, you will find a lot of instances where the controls are partially in place, right? So like safeguard 6.3, require MFA for externally exposed applications. Cool, bro. Well, if they have it on their email, but they don't have it on their Citrix gateway, what does that mean? Total fail? Total pass? Because email is important. It's like partially implemented, right? Now we're going to start getting into risk with like, okay, is it risky that they don't have Citrix MFA? The answer is yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication. Yeah, why is Lisa used Telnet? For your evidence collection, okay, guys, you're going to get a ton of evidence, okay? And evidence can be your audit scripts responses. It can be screenshots. It could be policies coming in. It could be Excel sheets, whatever. This is a preference. This is my choice. This is what I like to do, okay? I like to create a folder hierarchy that maps to all the controls and by the virtue of that, the safeguards, okay? Because that's the axiomatic value that you're either going to pass or fail the safeguard. So if there is a policy that meets control 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7, I personally will copy and paste and put that policy in each one. I like to do that because I like to be able to go back. If someone says, why is control 5 safeguard 5.3 not in place? We totally do that. I can say, I'll tell you why. Douche. Go right in there, and I've got everything I need to be able to move quick and be, basically effective and professional and just give them the information right away. Again, anything you find during an audit, you must absolutely be able to defend 6 months from now. Okay? That's why taking notes is really, really good. Okay. Let's keep going. Executing the audit. Well, I've already been doing this. So there's 3 things you can do. You can request and review documentation to see if it's being done. You can interview people, and you can actually test the control. So testing the control. Earlier I said, oh, hey, a spreadsheet for new tech, right? You might be like, okay, Like, can you give me like, I'd like to request the last 5 people who got hired here. And I want to look at the spreadsheet and see if those 5 people's computers are on this. You just told me that's the process. So I'm going to verify that, right? Or you get in sometimes you'll get a guest account and, like simple example, password policy, right? Like it's got to be 8 characters. Okay. Like you could go into 80 and view that and confirm it. You could also try to change your password and make it crap and get a screenshot that the control is in place, right? So that's what testing is, okay? All right, a note on control assessment depth. Most people in these businesses wear multiple hats. They're doing multiple jobs, okay? Their resources are limited, so you've got to be real that they're not going to have, like, you just got to be real. You can't judge them. Like, they're probably not going to have the best controls, especially if they're a smaller business. They may have some gaps. I mean, that's why you're doing this thing. Remember, you're assessing the control, not the person, right? The person, most people are just trying to do their job, do it well, and go home, right? Live that life. They're not trying to like screw the company. They may not even know what the right process is, okay? Or the process is too burdensome, right? So they don't do it because it's stupid and it's too burdensome. That's another finding, right? Hey, the control is not in place, but we have a control in there. Yeah, I know, but like no one does it because it's ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous. Like there's an opportunity there to like put in a different control that makes sense. Or you could just come down and, hit them with a stick and say like, this is how you're going to do it. So, but usually the people who are actually involved in the workflows can help you with choosing that. With evidence collection, again, you only get really like one shot. You can do follow-up requests and stuff, but like you got to nail the interviews every time. Be in the interview, okay? Like pay attention. Don't like, be trying to like look at, like your next meeting, or you wouldn't look at your phone because that's just ridiculous. But like pay attention to what they're saying. And when they say something, repeat it kind of to verify like, oh yeah, we like fill out a spreadsheet every time someone gets a new hire. Okay, cool. So yeah, every time someone, gets hired, they get a laptop, get a phone, these assets get put on the spreadsheet. Yep. Okay, cool. Right? Because you don't want a misunderstanding down the road. As I showed you earlier, ask about the process. Like you'll cover a bunch of controls when you ask about the process. You will take screenshots as part of evidence collection. Make sure they're very clear and easy to read. Taking like a tiny screenshot isn't super useful. Don't be cheap with like the screenshot real estate. You don't have to just take, I mean, obviously you don't want to take anything that's sensitive, but like, take a screenshot. Yeah. And then again, I like to have evidence map to like the control itself, because I want to be able to do, like, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen and you have to prove yourself or validate, it's awesome to go right to it. So this is you on your audit execution. You're nailing it. You got all your evidence. You basically have done the testing, validating, and then you're basically going to do your initial findings. Like basically when you're leaving the client site, or wrapping up the actual on-site audit event thing, you'll know if there's some like really nasty, gross, nasty business, right? So you'll want to do kind of like, it's like the opposite of the kickoff meeting. It's like the close down meeting or whatever. And you could just say, hey, this is, by the way, take this for action. Yo. Well, don't say yo. Let's be like, hello, like we've completed this. Okay. Guess I got to be a nerd, right? Hello, like, we've completed the audit. Thank you, everybody. Like, great work. I want to give, hey, recognition to Kimberly for helping us coordinate all these things. Fantastic job. Everybody really genuinely appreciate every time. Like throw some love, right? Then you might want to say, like, some controls that we saw in place that are super awesome and deliver a lot of value. We saw multi-factor authentication implemented across the board on externally facing assets. We also saw a pretty strong email security gateway policy set up and the way that that's sorted out. Definitely awesome. We did notice some opportunities for improvement, some gaps with our control structure that we're looking to implement here, or that you're looking to implement here. For example, we noticed, servers go unpatched, right? And I'll just tell you, like, basically bring up the good stuff and then a couple like gross things. And then next steps are, we're going to be analyzing all this information deeper and then rendering a final report like in 2 weeks' time. We may reach out to you for follow-up information, and that'll be going through Kimberly, the liaison. Okay. You're just giving them closure to what happened that week. So reporting and follow-up. This is one particular outline for the for your final report. Your final report should be very comprehensive, at least in my world. I like a heavy, final audit report, right? On like heavy stock paper, good weight to it, maybe 30, 40 pages. I'm being silly, but seriously, you should have all these things. Again, this report should be able to stand on its own. Someone should be able to pick it up 6 months from today and understand what happened and render it that way. Right? So executive summary is exactly what it sounds like. No business owner, no C-level is going to read anything past the executive summary. What is it? Why do I care? What do I need to know? I'm on to the next thing. For everybody else, you provide all the context. What are we doing here? Why'd you do this audit? What is the CIS 18 framework? Why, what did you audit? Again, what was that scope? What was that boundary? What was your methodology? Your approach was exactly what I just laid out in this webinar, right? We used the CIS 18, we collected this information, we interviewed relevant stakeholders, we got an assessment of the current state of the security posture and rendered our findings. Execution, this would be a quick one. You're just like, on the dates of April 14th to April 18th, we went to the facility in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We interviewed these, individuals against these controls and wrapped up, basically, again, you're trying to forensically put together a thing that you can go to later if you need to. Okay. Now, this is a personal preference, but I like, you always have to have a findings section. Okay. So findings is like the gross bits, right? Where you're non-compliant with the audit standard. Where are you not compliant with IG1? Okay. Now, personally, I like to begin to introduce you to NIST CSF. Okay. Now, you people who are in the know, the GRC mafia will recognize govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover as the functional areas in the NIST CSF, kind of like warming you up to them. Okay. Now, I want to point out really quickly, if you look at the CIS official documentation, they actually already have the safeguards mapped to the different functional areas. You can see 1.2 is in respond, 1.1 is under identify. So the work's already done for you. You don't have to figure it out. Just wherever there's gaps in the safeguards, map them into these areas. And oh, by the way, you can begin to grease them up, give them a little back rub on NIST CSF and an information security program structure and where your gaps are. Like, oh, if we do get hit, we're screwed because we don't really have any good detection type stuff. Detection type stuff in place, right? So little honey makes the medicine go down. And then, basically now we're doing a little bit of short-term, long-term things that they should implement, right? Like you can do these quick wins. Longer term, you might want to do network segmentation and then et cetera. Okay. Who are you communicating to? Not this guy. Okay. You're communicating to the executives, okay? Or to business people. The IT people will read it, but this isn't who you're writing to. Okay. Now, risk assessment, I guess like this is like getting hot right now, anime or whatever. Risk assessment and prioritization. You likely don't know like what the best way is. The whispering here is basically you can put together what you think the risk is of not having a control based on your experience, which will vary based on your experience. And what's the priority, right? So MFA is not in place. That's a huge priority, massive risk. You need to fix that. That would be like me offering that. But remember, any suggestion you give, they don't need to take it, right? Maybe they're just getting an audit done because they needed to like meet some insurance requirement. They don't care. So you might be just yelling at a wall. Remember, your suggestions, they might even have better ways to implement the control that isn't in place than you're thinking of. So just don't take it personal, but offer them a suggestion. I do have a link here. Chris Whitlock actually found one. Chris, I don't have the link in the chat, but if you can give it to me through DMs or something, I'll put it there. This is an example. Secretary of State, Oregon Audits Division actually has theirs published. You can go look at it as an example. I do want to point out, typically these reports, risk assessments, audit reports, just like pen test reports, are, I see the wrap it up B, the half-baked guy. I got you, Zach. This is usually sensitive information, so, it's good to see one. All right, so in conclusion, audit prep is definitely wicked important. It will set you up for success. Remember, the goal is to improve security, not have findings and be the guy, right? All right, here's how you can get a hold of me. If you love some GRC, you can see my master classes up there. A lot of people enjoy that, and every day we're doing the daily cyber threat brief in the morning. I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber. That's my webinar.
Woo! Since
Yes,
you
sir.
couldn't do your sound effects, I did it for you.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, my
Woo!
friend. There you go. Love it. Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure to have you here, man. It's always great to see you and talk with you.
Oh, yeah, I love you, Zach.
Listen to you share your knowledge. I love you too, man. Nothing but love all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you're excited about GRC now, right?
Yeah, we still need to make a video called What the F is GRC, right?
Yeah. Well, I made a course for it. It's free. If anyone wants to figure out what the F GRC is, I have a free course that you can take.
That's so funny that you did that. I love it.
Yeah. You saw that, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I love it, man.
I mean, is there time for questions? We got a couple minutes.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. We definitely save some time after questions for these. So if you all have questions, you want to throw them in the chat, we will try to get to them. I don't know how much time you have, Jerry, but we also do a breakout room. So when you're done kind of answering some initial questions here, if you have the Zoom application installed on your device at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see breakout rooms as a button, and we're going to start an AMA session there like a few minutes after 12 or 1.
Okay, yeah, I can give it. It's 1 o'clock here. I can give a little bit. I haven't slept.
All right, dude. So you got about 5 minutes. We'll take it. We'll take your time. And absolutely, you can always lurk. You're more than welcome to lurk and just hang out for sure. I know there's a few questions that I see here in the Zoom, and I'll try to get some on Discord if I can.
Yeah. Let's go.
The link to the free course. I mean, we can get it just from the Simply Cyber site, which I can.
Yeah, I mean, I'll drop a link to it. It's okay. Make it easy.
Thank you, Jerry. So Greg's asking here, MFA is a huge priority based on your experience. How do we prioritize using industry standard prioritization to back up your reasoning? I get this a lot when giving my experience of what a priority is and to what IG level. I'm sorry, I did a terrible job reading that question. But how I guess just overall, how would you standardize MFA? Is it like in the priority of things?
Like, are we talking like technician to technician? Like, how do you convey priority, or how do you convince the business that it needs to be implemented?
Convincing the business.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, there's so many, like, you could just be like, listen, we already pay for the technology to have this control. Like, we already pay for us to have this control. So, like, I'm not asking for budget, but what I am saying is that, look at the, like, 23andMe, credential stuff in attack. Like, don't say that to the business, but they know 23andMe. It could be like 23andMe. 100 million people's accounts compromised. They went out of business. 23andMe is bankrupt, or they got acquired, or they're for sale, whatever. If they had MFA, if they had turned on the thing that they pay for, just like if we turn it on, that attack would not have happened. I mean, if you would, I mean, don't be snarky, but like be like, do you want to secure the business? Do you want to take on risk that you don't need to for no additional cost? Like, for me personally, I always like to lead people to like come to the answer themselves instead of trying to hammer it over their head, because that's not really my strong suit. But be like, if you could make this business more secure for $0, would you do it? And like, not just secure, nerds agree that it's single-handedly the most important thing that you can do to secure your business. Like I don't like I like you. I don't want your business to go under. I want you to focus on making widgets, man. I don't want you to deal with a nightmare. And all you have to do is toggle that switch. Get your workforce to roll it out. You already do it yourself. I personally, you use MFA on something. There's no question. You know exactly what MFA is. You do it for your banks. You do it for your email. You do it for those things that you think are important. Is your business not important? What are we doing here?
It's a good question. Just came. Any tips on structuring a pre-audit to convince a small business that they need the audit in the first place?
I mean, a pre-audit audit to me is a conversation. You know, it's not really a pre-audit audit. You know, I don't know. I've always found, at least in my experience, right? It really is an attitude thing. It's the business owner, typically their attitude. If they're usually aware that there's a risk and they just don't know how to deal with it, so they kind of just kick it on down the road. But I mean, if you say things like, hey, are you worried about getting hacked? Right? You're kind of using terms that are more mainstream. Are you worried about getting hacked? Or like if it's a healthcare company, like they're well aware of Change Healthcare going down last year and the impact of it. Every healthcare company in the US knows that. So you'd be like, dude, are you worried about ransomware? Like, and I'm not trying to play on the FUD strings. I'm just like, are you worried about what happened to Change Healthcare happening to you? And like how long you could go without seeing patients, or how long you could go without making widgets, or how long you could go not selling tacos out of your food truck or whatever. And they'll probably say yeah and be like, well, I mean, like, do you do the basics, right? Do you do MFA? Well, what's MFA? When you log in your email, do you have to put a second thing? Oh, yeah, we do that. All right. Well, that's cool. I mean, do people remote into work? Yeah, we set up VNC or whatever. It's like, well, do you put multi-factor on that? No. Do you have to log in? No, but it's a special IP address. Well, guess what? I mean, the whole internet gets scanned every day. Like that's major risk. I mean, if you want, I mean, there's like a baseline fundamental day one set of controls that I can look at for you at your business. It'll just take a week or so and like at least give you visibility into how awful or how fine you are. And I'll give you another example really quick, team. Um, I audited a 4-person financial management company, and they do everything in the cloud, everything. And all their cloud accounts are super hardened. They keep nothing on their laptops, nothing. They keep nothing on paper. They shred it the second they're done with it. If they get paper, they scan it, they upload it to the cloud, they delete it from their machine, and they shred it immediately. So like their risk profile is like nothing. Like even their tech stack. I was like, what happens if someone steals your laptop? They're like, well, just go buy another one. Like, all right, I can't argue that. All right, next question. And I'll make the responses faster.
Are you sure about that? All right. Roswell is asking, what are the key elements for building a program that leadership and the wider organization can truly believe in? One that is so reliable and embedded that they feel they are never going to give you up on it. It's never going to let you down in a crisis.
Oh, that's funny. I mean,
What you did
basically,
there.
I mean, personally, you got to kind of like see how management sees things. They see things as like programs and, you know, roadmaps and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's how I would do it. Like try to get to IG3, for CIS 18. Whether you reach it or not, it's not the point. Like you can show them, here's where we're going, here's where we are, here's our milestones, and you can then start showing trend data and the value of that. It gives them something to like, stick their hole in, right? Yep.
Shahir is asking, so for CIS controls, it's used for improving security, not documenting as evidence, like as in forensics?
No, I mean, so forensics would be like a totally different kind of function within a cybersecurity program, like dealing with like an incident. There's probably a control in CIS 18. It doesn't come to my mind right away. That has something to do with incident response and digital forensics, if I had to guess. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with that. It does have to do with improving the overall security for a business.
Control 17.
Yeah, incident response management. I bet you anything inside of Control 17, there's a safeguard around, digital forensics of some sort. Yeah, I mean, there's 9 safeguards in there.
The Pain says, this is the weirdest jaw jacking yet. I love it. I'm here for that.
Thank you, The Pain. I like The Pain. He's funny.
I don't see any other questions that have come through here for you, Jerry. So I know you took a red eye, so you're exhausted from your RSA trip.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you taking the time just to be here with us and to share your knowledge, man.
Thank
Again,
you.
it's always a pleasure. You're
I'm
always
gonna drop
welcome to
that
be here.
course, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm dropping a link too, so, for poweredbybhs.com. So if y'all ever want to stay up to date with what we have coming up here at Black Hills Antisyphon Training, you just make Powered by BHS your homepage when you open up your browser, and you'll be able to see all the events that we have coming up all the time. And it'll be great. So check that out if you will. Join us next week. We'll be back here for another Anti-cast, and definitely check out the workshops that we have coming up as well. I'll get the links for those in just a second. And if y'all are ready for the breakout room, I'm going to go ahead and get that started right now. So hope y'all have a great week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. Great experience. Take care.
Always. See you later, everybody.